Welcome into Northside Territory, Foul Territory Network's Cubs podcast. I'm Sahadev Sharma with my partner, Patrick Mooney. We are your Cubs beat writers over at The Athletic. Patrick, we are less than 2 weeks away from opening day. Yeah, less than 2 weeks away. Uh, the roster has already started to trim down, right? They've had two cuts, maybe three cuts, three rounds of
Couple
cuts.
rounds of cuts, yeah.
And we'll probably have more this week. And it's still a bloated roster, but it's not. Everything has to happen earlier. And those weird Japan rules, which I'm still confused about after getting 16 explanations. But
I was waiting for your hotel room to just have like a whole big board of names and spring and
yeah, try to piece it all together. It's
like depth
so,
charts and
26 men with 3 inactive, but 5 that you bring to Japan, and it's like a 31-man roster, but a 29-man roster, and also a 26. Like the explanations we got it from like 4 different executives through PR. Most of those, and it was just like they like keep coming back with new tidbits of information. Would be like, well, how about this guy? What if they need to make a decision on it? And it was just like exhausting. And I think the simplest way that we could put it is that they will have 26 men. Nico Horner doesn't need to go on the IL. I cannot remember the answer on Gage Workman, who we'll talk about, who is a Rule 5 draft pick. And I cannot remember what needs to be done with him because there were so many things that we discussed. But that's the topic of this episode, Patrick. It's these final decisions, the edge of the roster. Let's say there are things that need to be done. Matt Shaw's playing games. He's finally healthy. Javier Assad is not. I think I don't know. I cannot recall if they just said he's not going to be on the opening day roster, but he's not. Like he can't be. Like it's
correct.
Not real.
Yeah, they've ruled him out for the start.
Okay. That's what I thought. I just couldn't remember if they officially said that. So there's that 5th starter spot that you're battling for, and then it's the final few spots in the bullpen, which really isn't that. There's not a lot of up and down to be had there. There's a decent amount, but not as optionable as Craig Counsell would like or has had in Milwaukee in the past. But you figure those things out as you go. I don't think they're going to hesitate if someone's really struggling after 4 outings to say, like, it's not working. We got to figure out what to do here. We got to make a change because this guy's costing us games type stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's crazy to think like spring training for the Cubs started on Super Bowl Sunday, and then by Selection Sunday for March Madness, they'll be in Japan. Closing in on opening day, so that's kind of change the rhythm and the timelines of this. But as Counsell said at the start, like you kind of know when the test is, so you just kind of work from that. You have the answers, like what you want to do, so you just kind of move them up early. And also, I haven't heard one real like complaint yet. I guess I haven't been fishing for this, but it seems like players, staff, Counsell himself, very excited about this trip to Japan, that they view it as a great, as Counsell would say, a life experience, a baseball experience, a team bonding experience, a cultural experience, like all of those things.
That was,
Wouldn't you say, like, I don't know, maybe I'm just not asking the right questions to get the negative answers, but they seem pretty excited for this.
When I asked Nico, I was like, was this an easy decision? Like, play it safe? And he's like, it wasn't. He's like, I'm missing out on something really big. He's like, health wise, it makes perfect sense. He's like, this is a bonding experience. This is really important for us to go through, and I'm missing out on it. And he's like, that was hard to give up. It's like, it's the right decision for my body and to be ready for the US portion of the start of the season. But you could tell, like, he didn't even have to think about that. He quickly answered my question. Like, no, it wasn't an easy decision. Like this is big experience that I'm missing and that I'm bummed to be missing. And he pointed out what you're saying about the bonding and like they're going to grow closer on this trip. Like he's right. Like there's some pretty cool things that'll happen. And it is an exciting thing. Like when I've brought it up to guys, and it mostly hasn't been like you said, I'm not like fishing. It was more just like chit chat with guys. They all seem really excited, right? They seem pumped about the opportunity. And what did Nico say? He said, he's like, it's a spectacle. Like it's almost as big as the World Series. Like all eyes are on us. And that's, and that's exciting.
Yeah. I mean, players talk about it really, they like that Friday 120 because it's like the only window in baseball. And this will be that like on a much bigger scale. It seems like, I know we rattled off a couple injuries at the top, but the Cubs have been like pretty healthy. I mean, we'll see how long that lasts, but in terms of like the overall tenor of the camp, I think you'd agree it's been, well, one, kind of boring. That's just kind of a post Joe Madden, that World Series window, 15, 16, 17 of just when the Cubs were kind of a circus. That circus has left town. Craig Counsell is very businesslike. Those players, as you know well, are kind of baseball rats. They're very routine oriented. They're thoughtful and they're like engaging, but they're not necessarily loud outside of maybe Pete Crow Armstrong's like hair decisions. So it's been pretty businesslike. We'll see what happens in these final couple days before they actually have to leave and make some of these decisions. But I think outside of Alex Bregman choosing the Red Sox, I think this camp has pretty much gone the way they would have wanted thus far.
Yeah, I was just quickly looking at the 40-man. It's Owen Casey and Javier Assad, right? Like Matt Shaw's not on the 40-man. So those are the two that if I'm looking at this correctly, like that have had any sort of injury concerns. Luke Little is.
Hey, look at what happened. Yeah, look at what happened to like the Mets, right? Of just like starters going down left and right, and you're kind of scrambling. And Cubs are set up to avoid some of that, but they haven't really been kind of pressed into action yet to really kind of reimagine their staff. Maybe that comes sooner than later, but right now, knock on wood, they feel pretty good about where things are at.
One name, buzz continues to grow. I assume he's probably pitching again soon. If this episode goes up, maybe he's already pitched again. But Brad Keller had like a couple bad pitches, I think, and I didn't see him, but from what I understand, like he had a little bad luck behind him too.
Yeah, so a couple misplays.
Yeah, this guy's he's opening eyes, and you and I have talked to enough people now that it's not just a spring training thing. People around the league are asking about it. There are teams that are interested, that were interested, and continue to be interested. If he doesn't make this team, he'll have an opt out, and he will be someone else is interested. That's what we're gathering. Like it's not like he's going to take a minor league assignment.
Yeah, I think he'll be sought after. And I'll give you credit, man. You were on top of this. Like you landed in Mesa. And I had just gotten home, and Brad Keller was not on my radar, but you were on it. And just an interesting guy who did the kind of off-season, pitching retreat, and has opened some eyes to where it feels like the conversation is more like how do they use him versus whether or not they add him. Again, like things could change, but he would be in demand if he did use that opt-out. I think it's like a $1.5 million base salary. So as the Cubs are minding every dollar, that will not break their bank. But I think, look, you've seen Craig Counsell does a good job of utilizing his pitchers, right? I mean, that's something we had heard. I think you made the point of like early last year, like he has credibility in this space when he's talking to pitchers. For an NRI guy, I'm told the Cubs made a pretty compelling presentation to Keller over the winter. And lately, the Cubs you've written about this a ton, man. Like, they have a good track record of kind of the change of scenery guys or the one tweak away type guys and get them away from the worst White Sox team ever and like put them in a different environment. The velo's ticked up. I'm assuming he's pretty confident with the way things are going. It seems like, a guy they're gonna add.
So I was told by someone that essentially the Cubs were searching this. I think this is too simplistic, but they were searching for the next Colin Snyder. If you don't know who Colin Snyder is, he spent 2 years with the Royals. The peripherals were awful. The ERA was bad. There was nothing you'd look at that would say this guy is a good pitcher. Just nothing. Like his strikeout, I'm looking at his strikeout rate. It was 14.6 in 2022 and 11.6 with a 13.7 walk rate in 2023. Just awful numbers. Like, this is not a good pitcher. Last year, 41 and 2/3 innings with the Mariners, 194 ERA, 27.8 strikeout rate, 7.7 walk rate. That's an awesome reliever.
Yeah.
When searching for that guy, I heard they identified Keller as a potential guy that could be the next Colin Snyder. We'll see how that is, but I think what you basically said there of this isn't as much as he making the team as much as like what sort of role does he hold on this team. I think they're really excited about that. They'll have to make a 40-man move for him, but these are the types of things you need. Something someone else told me while I was there, I was like, it feels like the bullpen is much better, at least much deeper. And they meant this not as a rip of the player, but they said, it's nice that we're coming into the season where if Jose Cuas was here, he'd be like our 8th option, but like to pick from as far as final spot. He made the final spot last year. They have 8 guys above him now in that sense, right? And that wasn't that Cuas is perfectly fine guy and could be an adequate reliever. Struggled with the Cubs, right? But I think the point is like so deep, so many options, and now Keller is kind of shooting up that list of options. And I think they'll have a decision to make, and I don't think it's a hard decision in the sense like you kind of had to keep him. Like he's opened that many eyes and he's got the type of stuff. It's not smoke and mirrors here. He's got stuff that makes you think like this guy can help the team. You don't overthink it.
Yeah, it's always important to remember too, like when you're in spring training and like you hear, managers in the front office talk about, the 40-man roster, and then Cubs have won 83 games the last 2 years and they haven't made the playoffs in a full season since 2018, right? So it's like we're not talking about, the Los Angeles Dodgers and how they keep adding players somehow. It's like, if this guy is as good as they think he is, if he can make an impact, just add him. Like there's always guys at the bottom. Players always get hurt, right? Pitchers always get hurt. Like there's something else will happen to where an opportunity will open. So I thought it was interesting. You mentioned Cuas because I looked this up the other day. They had 8 guys in their opening day bullpen last year. 6 are gone. I guess technically maybe Yency Almonte is now back, but on the field. But still, the point being, like, same with like Julian Merriweather. He's got great stuff, but like, can he stay healthy? And instead of like counting on him as like, this was one of our high leverage guys last year, so let's just pencil him in for the 8th inning. Like, no, he's kind of more closer towards that ace spot on the pen and not like the 8th inning automatic guy. And Luke Little is still on the team, but they essentially ruled him out for the start of opening day. Maybe even before the first formal workout, just like, all right, let's give this guy a base. Let's get him, create some momentum going into the season. It's like when you start adding more talent, like guys get pushed down, they can still help. Julian Merriweather is still very talented and could have a big year, but you're not counting on, what was it last year? It was like Mark Leonard Jr., Everett Alzolay, and Julian Merriweather. It's like, those guys were pushed pretty hard the year prior.
Yep.
And now you just create, more pathways for Counsell to get the ball to Ryan Presley.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yes, I like the way you put that, and just like pushing guys like Julian Merriweather. Would I be surprised if he gets some high leverage innings and is awesome? No, I would not be surprised by that. But also that, like, I remember, I don't know if I was reading your Presley piece or something, like it kind of like hit me, like, oh, I think I was like looking at him in the clubhouse, and I was like, he actually looked good the other day on the mound. Like he was throwing like 98, 99. That's a good sign. But I'm not thinking of him as someone that they absolutely need to have a successful bullpen. And that's how you build a successful bullpen.
Exactly.
So it feels like it's one of the better bullpens, better groups that they've had in a while. We'll see if that translates into success, because bullpens are weird and volatile and you never know. But Brad Keller is a name that we'll keep an eye on, as far as, let's see if he's part of that impact group in the bullpen, because obviously it has been a thorn in their side over the past couple of years at various points in the season. There's, when we're talking about the bottom of the roster, the final few spots, it's at third base, maybe whatever you want to call it, infield role, like extra infielder. Matt Shaw would be the starter, right? He's not an extra infielder. If he makes this team out of camp, he's going to be playing at some point. It's whether do you want to get him there to Japan for opening day, or do you want to take it a little easy? Does he not? Does something happen this week where it's like, we don't want to push him? Whatever. Sounds like Counsell isn't ruling that out, him being there, but I think the two names, Vidal Brujan, this was a trade with the Marlins where they sent Matt Mervis there. I don't think anyone was like hugely excited about the move, but he's a former top prospect, and he looks good. He looks good early in camp. I guess it's not early, but he looks good. Whatever, 10 games into camp. And then Gage Workman looks good too. And Counsell loves defense. You said it. Like, if you can play defense, Counsell's going to notice you. And he noticed that right away. In fact, one of my first days at camp, our friend Jesse Rogers asked about Gage Workman and the home run that he hit, the first home run that he hit. And Counsell quickly made a point. He acknowledged the home run and all that. He quickly made a point. He's like, it's more important the defensive plays that he made. He's like, that's what I noticed. He's like, he made 2 defensive plays that stood out to me. That's going to open my eyes and keep a guy on my mind.
He didn't say that's a bad take, Jesse. That would have been the response to our guy.
I believe there was a little back and forth. There was some fun back and forth, as there usually is.
It's Counsell had a couple good lines, like the other day, with Brujan. He's like, I know it's kind of cliche, but you look up the end of every game, his uniform is just like completely dirty. Like, he's making things happen. Workman has checked a lot of boxes and took advantage of this opportunity with Nico Horner being ruled out for the Tokyo series, with Shaw having that setback with his oblique. And it's like, we don't go crazy with spring training numbers, but like, when you're those guys on the bubble, you have to do something, right? It's not like, they have these long major league track records to where you can lean on that. Like, no, these are guys fighting for their professional careers. They have opened eyes. I think they've probably exceeded expectations thus far. That could change. That doesn't really mean anything at this point, but they're squarely in the conversation. And I think another name not on the graphic there is Nicky Lopez, who
I have
a hard time not seeing. I don't know if it would have fit in there, but it would have I have a hard time seeing him not making this team if he's healthy. I just think in terms of peace of mind for what Counsell wants and values, if he's a plus defender at multiple positions where you have like injuries / unproven young players, I think he has at least you kind of know what the floor is with him and the kind of baseline competency that I think it'd be hard to just let go. I mean, they brought him in for a reason, right?
Yeah, they've worked on some various things with him. They worked on like kind of like his pre-pitch, how he like his footwork, I think was what Council was talking about. And we've almost immediately seen that pay dividends. His defenses look good in spring training. These are the types of things like defenses like that translates, right? Like when you make a defensive play, that's not like that translates from spring training to the regular season.
Yes.
We don't need to overthink that. So
There's not like
seeing
luck.
that,
yeah,
right. You made a good play. That's it doesn't matter who hit the ball. You made a good play.
Yeah.
So like that matters. I don't know if it was what it was, but someone suggested to me, a scout suggested to me that he wasn't himself last year. He didn't. I don't know if that's physically what it was. I need to follow up more. They feel like he's in a good place, whatever that means. We should probably get some clarity there, but I just like it sounds like he's in a better place. He likes the Cubs. He's wanted to play here. I think Naperville, is that right? At least where he was born.
Central High School, yeah.
Yeah. So that's not Chicago, but it's Chicagoland area. I'm sure he is happy to be with the Cubs. I agree. Like I don't know what that means as far as him. Japan, is that him?
Yeah, is that a decision
later on?
Maybe.
Yeah. Is he willing to take a couple weeks in spring training before he makes a decision? I don't have the exact date on his opt out. So maybe you can punt it a little bit further. And if you want to keep Gage Workman, if you want to see if Brujan has finally tapped into that prospect status, whatever, who knows? Yeah. I'm just speculating on all those things, but these are the types of decisions at the bottom of the roster that they're going to have to make. And I do think they're interesting. And all of it, just like the bullpen, having depth is a good thing. Having these is this make or break? But we always say it, and it's a holdover from the Theo Epstein era, and it's something Jed Hoyer learned from him. Theo coming into that 16 season was obsessed with depth. He was like, it almost seemed like at least from my perspective, I don't want to speak from you. Like I was like, this is over the top, but he was right. He was right. Like you need every bit of talent that you can find to ensure it doesn't matter how good your starting nine is. You need more behind it because you don't know what's going to happen over the course of the year. You have to assume all sorts of things may happen, prepare for it, and then who knows how good it gets, and who knows how much that depth helps, which I think is what they're building, trying to build. Not that upper tier talent yet. It's not as good. I'm not comparing this to 2016. I'm just saying depth is a good thing.
Yeah, no, I mean, even just to the degree of letting Tommy La Stella sort of go on his sabbatical there and, welcoming back to the team just because you thought maybe there's that one matchup out there or, one pinch hit at bat, where he could make a difference. I mean, someone like Chris Coughlin wound up, coming back. Yeah. Obviously the Kyle Schwarber collision here in Arizona right at the start of the season. Cubs are not there yet, certainly not on the position player side. I think it's very easy to see us looking back like, man, we spent a lot of time talking about Gage Workman, right? Of just there are big question marks at third base. I think Michael Busch is a good player, but it's been one rookie year, right? We think Nico Horner is going to be healthy, that he's on a good track, but we'll see, right? If he has a setback. I mean, Dan's becoming off.
You're absolutely right. There's so many of them. Beyond, I like how Miguel Amaya's looked. Maybe he's turned a corner. I don't know. PCA, we talked about him last episode.
Yeah,
I think he's going to be good. I can't guarantee it. You're right. There are question marks, and that's why you need depth. That's why you sign depth like Jankowski and Greg Allen, frankly, behind PCA. You know, like who knows how long those guys will be around. They'll probably stick around as far as the minor league side for a little bit, but that's the type of depth you need. Because you need guys that have played before that can at least give you league average production, and then and hope you get better from the younger players. It's always it's a truth with any good team. You need young players to step up and perform. If they don't, that could really hurt.
And those pleasant surprises can happen too. I think particularly on the pitching side, we've seen that with the Cubs in recent years of kind of rebuilding on the fly and plugging in guys who, we weren't talking about, a Porter Hodge type, for example, last year. Opens Council's eyes.
Yep.
I don't think we've spent a whole lot of time writing about him. I know you had mentioned him. You did, but I know I didn't. And
I think
really nice
Breslow was a fan. Yeah, Breslow
exactly.
was a fan, so I talked to him about Hodge at various points over the years. We'll see who those surprises are, if it's any of the guys we even mentioned. Like you said, we could look back in 2 months and be like, why do we waste a segment on those guys? But that's part of spring training. All right. Thanks so much, everyone, for listening. This is Northside Territory. Make sure to rate, review, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and subscribe to The Athletic, where Patrick and I are on top of all things Cubs. Thanks so much for listening, everyone. Take